Throughout the years, he's raced in some varied divisions, including the Friesen Performance IMC Northern Sport Mods and the Mach-1 IMCA Sport Compacts. The first sport compact driver we've had here on the Beyond the Flags program, but it's a great insight from all the transitions that he's made to this, and we're talking about Roger Bell. And Roger explains how he got into racing and all the different divisions that he's raced up to this point getting into the sport compacts, and about all the fun that he's having in this new classification. That's coming up next on the Beyond the Flags podcast. But before we get to the interview, make sure wherever you're listening or watching from, you hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. Well, he's from the town of Marcola, Oregon. He competes in the Mach-1 IMCA Sport Compacts. We're talking to Roger Bell. Roger, you're our first Sport Compact guest, so welcome to Beyond the Flags podcast. It's always great to catch up with you and have a chat about racing, and looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you, as always, Ben. Appreciate you doing this.
Well, you know, first time you and I met was, I don't know, probably about 2019 or so. And it was when you were racing in the Friesen Performance IMC Northern Sport Mods. And since then, you've moved to the Sport Compacts this season. And you've had a couple of good runs this year. I know you've been snake bitten by some rotten luck, but a couple of decent finishes already in 2024.
Yeah, I actually started racing in 2019 in a street stock at Willamette Speedway. And then the next year I progressed from there into a sport mod and raced predominantly at Cosgrove. And then the following year I went to Sportsman back at Willamette. And then back in 2022, I think it was, back to the sport mod group. And it just got a little expensive and a little overwhelming. So I thought I would try another class and go down a class into the sport complex, and I've got to say it's a lot of fun. Very competitive. The cars may be slower, but it's a lot of fun, and just it's been a real cool thing to do so far.
Well, you got a second place finish at Grove on May 18th. Got to be really proud about that, and a fifth place finish on June 1st. I mean, those are some pretty quality results because the class of cars that are there, There's some great cars in that division. Yeah, there is. Of course, Bernie Bryant and his daughter Melissa are very hard to beat. They've got the Hondas, and I think Bernie works at a Honda dealer, so they've got the really good performance parts for those cars. So most of us are racing the Randy Cool built Cavaliers, and mine is the only 2005 Pontiac Sunfire, which has all the same running gear and motor as the Cavaliers. So it's proven to be a little hard to catch the Hondas for sure. Yeah, they are beatable though. They have been beaten this season, but they're pretty. They're some pretty fast cats. Yeah, they're very. My car may look better than theirs, but they're faster so far. Well, you bring up that you started in street stocks, and now I recall that it was a black was your first color, right? Yeah, Black Nova. Yeah. Well, I mean, 2019, it seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. What was your inspiration to become a driver and start racing? Well, when I was 16 years old, my dad raced back in 1979. He started. He actually bought a street stock, a 65 Chevelle from Marvin Smith's dad, whose name was Lowell Smith. They all raced back with your dad back then. Yeah. And he bought his car, and I was in the picture at 16. And I did that for, probably 4 years until I joined the Navy, and I was gone 13 years in the Navy. Came back in 1996 and decided I was going to try racing. So I built a sportsman car and raced it at Grove for about 7 races, I think, and then I ended up going into the Claimer division and racing at Eugene Speedway for its last year before they closed down. So I just
kind of been going to the races as a spectator for all that time between 96 and 2019, and I just decided, you know what, I'm not getting any younger, so I'd really like to build a car and get back into it, try doing it again.
Well, and with all the different divisions that you've raced in, they all present their own different challenges. Like, I would, and feel free to disagree with me on this statement, but there's no such thing as a quote unquote easy class. They're all hard in their respective in their respective divisions, whether it be a lot of power you got to control or sensitive steering. I mean, with the sport compacts, the front wheel drives, you guys get on like a snotty, slimy track. That can be a nightmare.
Yeah, I've got to say, the challenge with the modifieds, be it a sport mod or an A mod, which I've never drove an A mod, but they're not much different other than horsepower. They're very hard to set up. You've got to be a wizard at setting those things up, and I just struggle with that. I could never get them set up right because each time you race is a different setup. And there are guys out there that have been racing for years that really know how to do it, and my hat's off to them. But I decided I wanted to try something different with the sport compact. The first time I was in that car, I went in and I threw it into turn one and hammered on the brakes to try to do the same thing I did in the sport mods, and I found out real quick it doesn't work. Front wheel drive just wants to pull you right up to the wall.
Yeah.
So I had to get used to actually turning left and going left.
Sure. Well, and how difficult for you personally was it to go from racing predominantly Cottage Grove to racing Willamette a lot, and then going back to Cottage Grove? Did you have to make quite a bit of adjustments for yourself to make yourself comfortable with the cars you were driving?
No, I enjoy the bigger tracks of Douglas County and Willamette, but Cottage Grove has just always been home to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I grew up watching my dad and greats like your dad and other great drivers. So I really wanted to get back into just going to one track and concentrating on a good top 10 finish was my goal. This might be my last season because of some health issues, and I'm just getting older. But and if it is, I just want to at least get perfect attendance was my goal, and I'm on track for that. And also, my goal is to be in the top 10. So far, I think I'm in 7th place.
Yeah. Well, we definitely appreciate you for your service to this country by serving in the Navy. That had to been an adventure, to put it in one word. Like you probably got to see some amazing locations and definitely an interesting time in your life, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got to go to 28 different countries. Unfortunately, I had to deploy away from my wife at the time and my 3 kids, and it was really, really hard to be gone for 7 months at a time. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I made some great friends, saw some great places, and got some crazy stories and experiences that I would have never gotten anywhere else, for sure.
Sure. And because one of the times I was talking to you at one point, were you in the Bay Area, right, station?
Yeah, I was stationed on the USS Mount Hood in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yep.
So you know all about the ins and outs of that place. That's when I was hearing about San Francisco, I probably was like listening to probably maybe a little bit more propaganda than I should have, but that's just how it goes sometimes. And then I went there. It's one of my favorite cities to visit, and it means a lot to me for a lot of sentimental reasons. And you got to be careful, of course, but it's quite a remarkable. That whole area is really remarkable, and there's so many cool things to see. Not just there, but the East Bay and the North Bay and the Delta and the South Bay.
Go Giants!
Yes.
Yeah, I enjoyed going to the Giants games at Candlestick back in the day, and I was raised in Los Angeles until I moved to Oregon in 1978.
Okay.
But San Diego is definitely the favorite place I've ever lived because the weather is mildly 75 to 79. Doesn't get very hot because of the ocean breeze, and way less traffic than the Bay Area. The Bay Area traffic is horrible. Mm-hmm. I had to drive. I mean, I couldn't afford to live in San Francisco or who really wants to live in town. So
yes. Yeah.
I actually lived up in a town called Vallejo, and I drove I think 40 miles a day of bumper traffic every day to go to work. It was not fun.
Oh, no fun at all. The crazy thing, people may not know this, and we may have mentioned this on a show already, so, forgiveness for the repeated information. In San Francisco, nobody owns an air conditioner because it's cool and cold, like, even this time of the year, like July and everything. No, they just open their window. It's that cool, and then at night it definitely gets chilly.
Well, it used to be that way here in Eugene, too, but not with climate change and the forest fires that are taking over and getting hotter and hotter every summer. Those days are bad for sure.
Well, so when you lived in Vallejo, did you go down like into, what would that be, Richmond, and then get the Bay Bridge over, or did you go up and around the Horn like by San Quentin?
So I went down I-80 all the way over several bridges.
Okay.
Carquinez Bridge, and then over the Bay Bridge. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Bridge tolls every day.
Yes. Yeah. No. I'll let you. Spoiler alert: the bridge tolls haven't went down. I think last time it was like I can't remember what Bay Area Transit gave me for going over the Golden Gate like last year, but it was like, holy smokes! I only went like one way. So, but hey, gotta keep certain people in a limousine, right?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is they had a carpool lane, so as long as you had two of you, you didn't have to pay the toll.
Oh.
You could just go to the carpool lane.
Okay.
So just to be funny, I put a mannequin in the passenger seat with me one time, and I put a hard hat on him because we were in the Naval Shipyards over there, Hunters Point, and I got away with it for probably about a month, and then one day I got pulled over and got a $250 ticket for it, but I had to laugh at it. It was pretty funny.
Jeez.
I called him Ralph.
All those tolls that you skipped on, you made it up with one pullover. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Exactly. Are you looking to find that adrenaline rush, but you can't because you're not at the racetrack? Well, check out the IMCA TV Replay subscription library to have access to thousands of hours of racing for just $24.99 a month. Relive all the moments of the Speedway Motors IMCA Super Nationals fueled by Casey's at Boone Speedway, the Harris Clash at Deer Creek Speedway in Spring Valley, Minnesota, the IMCA TV Winter Nationals at Cocopah Speedway in Somerton, Arizona, Florida's Clash on the Coast, and dozens of Speedway Motors IMCA weekly racing program racetracks from across the nation, as well as the IMCA TV Dirtcast podcast. Plus, 25% of that $24.99 monthly fee goes towards the Drivers Point Fund and is a great way to help out your local racers. In 2023, over $97,000 was paid out to IMCA drivers directly at over 50 racetracks across the country. Please note that live broadcasts are not part of the replay subscription. That's IMCA TV. IMCA TV, where America comes to watch racing. Well, Roger, I've known you always as the number 79, and does that number have any sort of significance why you chose that number, or what's the story there?
Yeah, because my dad drove 79, and he started in 1979 in that Lowell Schmidt 65 Chevelle.
Okay.
And he still lives in the same house that I grew up in over on Barger Drive in Eugene. So I swear to God, he's probably Cottage Grove's most unknown best fan in the world, because I think he's 79 years old or 80 years old. And I asked him one time, I said, how many races do you think you've missed since you started going to Cottage Grove Speedway back in 1965? And he said, I bet I've missed 10 in all those years. Yeah, he goes to every race, and he always goes down to the guy that sells the die-cast cars there.
Yeah, more of everything racing collectibles. Yeah.
And he buys a NASCAR, one of the bigger 124 scale cars. Every time he goes, I swear to God, he's a hoarder. He has like over 1,000 of those cars all around his house.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's crazy.
It probably looks like an action die-cast or Winner's Circle die-cast distribution center with so many die-casts.
Yeah, I always tell, I can't remember his name right now, but the guy that owns more of everything.
Brian Bach.
Brian, yes. Yeah. I always tell Brian, he could probably beat you as far as your stock. he's probably got more stuff in his house than you have in your whole store.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I believe it. I know some people that are like that, where it's like, holy smokes, like, wow, but that's super cool. Well, and like, do you happen to know the reason why he started to get involved in racing? Like, what drew him to become a driver?
I think he just, I think it just was his dream when he was a kid. He always wanted to be a race car driver, and he watched NASCAR growing up and some of the smaller tracks, and he just was, he was drawn to the sport, and he went to his family was from White City, Oregon.
Okay.
So they went to the track down there in Medford all the time, and Cotter's Grove, and a little bit at Willamette. But Cotter's Grove is where he went the most. Every Saturday, you could pretty much find him up in the stands in the same location. And then, unfortunately, he can't go anymore because this season, I think he's just getting too old and he's pretty frail.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, like, when did he stop racing? Like you said, started in 1979. When did that all kind of wrap up for driving for him?
I think he raced for about 10 years.
Okay.
And he quit. Because I was in the Navy while he quit. And then when I came home, I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. And then he could be my pick for a change.
There you go.
Which he did. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, super cool. Well, obviously racing's a big part of your life, but like every human being, we got other things that we do outside of the sport. For you, what are some cool things that you like to do when you're not tinkering on your race car or headed to a racetrack or racing?
Well, I bought last summer. I bought a really nice North River aluminum fishing boat. So I like to take it out on the hot days, and if it's not pulling my grandkids around on the tube, it's going fishing with my buddies. Chuck Carson, who's another driver in the Sport Mod division, him and I like to go fishing together, so we go fishing quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And then I just bought, about a month ago, I bought a beautiful black 1969 Firebird. I've always been a Camaro fan, but the Firebirds are really rare and hard to find. Mm-hmm. So I found it, got a good price on it, and I have a big race shop that's just all NASCAR out, and I've got my own collection of die-cast metal cars all over the shop. And I put a lift in there, and now I got the Firebird up on the lift. I'm doing a bunch of stuff underneath it, and spent the last week chroming out the engine and redoing the interior. And I've been fighting really hard since there's no racing for my class this weekend. We're going to go do the big Emerald City Showdown, Shakedown car show at Briggs Elementary School Saturday morning from 8 to 5. So we're going to have a car out there doing that.
Nice. Well, with your collection of die-casts, is it centered on like a specific set of like a certain team like Hendrick or Penske or certain drivers, or is this kind of like a menagerie of different drivers?
I got mostly Dale Earnhardt, but I've got like Kevin Harvick's first car when he took over after Dale died. I've got 24. I was drawing a blank.
Oh, Jeff Gordon?
Jeff Gordon, yeah. Jeff Gordon, I've got some of his cars, and then, of course, my favorite driver now is Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, so I have a few of those.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's super cool. I know, like, my brother, he collected, they were 164, but a lot of the Dale Earnhardt stuff, and that's when he was still alive. And then when he died, it was kind of harder to get that stuff because inventory just, like went off the shelves like crazy. And then my dad, growing up, he was, they had some really cool runs with like Johnny Lightning or some other companies, Racing Champions, with Richard Petty. So he's got like all sorts of different Richard Petty die-casts and stuff. So, yeah, super cool. It's really great. I mean, that's how, I jokingly say it, but it seriously is how I got my first announcing job, was announcing Racing Champions, 164 scale races on my carpet or on my coffee table. So I didn't get fired, so I kept doing it. So.
And you're one of the best around.
Well,
I'm glad you kept with it.
Thank you. Yeah. No, yeah. So like die-cast collecting was a big deal, and weren't really too much in the 124 stuff, just because, you know, like with us, we were like little kids, my brother and I, and, you know, stuff breaks, right? And so where the 164s were a little bit more durable and, you know, easier to transport around too. Like if we were going somewhere, I could just put them in a carrying case. Whereas like with 124s, it's like, you know, not the same deal. So.
Right. When I was a kid, I had the Hot Wheels and the Matchbox, and I had all those cases you carry around with the little squares that fit each car. In the
oh,
cases.
Yeah.
And I remember I had one my mom bought me. I think it held like 64 cars in it. It was heavy for a 4 or 5 year old kid to carry that thing around. But I remember taking them over to my friend's house to spend the night, sharing cars and trading cars and all that stuff. It was fun.
Yeah, you could get two of them, and you'd be like jacked like Arnold by the time you're like, you know, 8 or 9 years old. So. But,
and remember the old Hot Wheel tracks that were orange and had the loop and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know those little basket things you're talking about, because one time, like, you know, you're a kid and you get distracted and you got called to eat or something, or like had to go somewhere, and then, you know, I had my shoes off and I stepped on one, and like before I ever stepped on a Lego, like that was torture. It was like, fortunately they were pretty like durable and they bent and stuff, but it still didn't feel good going in your bare foot. So yeah.
That's funny.
Yes.
So I got to share something with you. You know, the famous Gene Ashley racing family.
Yes.
Been around Grove for years.
Mm-hmm.
They, not only are they the coolest family, but they have, at Gene's house in his backyard, you probably know this already, he has a go-kart track.
Yeah.
Called Jasper Speedway.
Yeah. It was probably the first track open during COVID, you know, like whether that was, you know, Lane County approved or not, but sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the little flag stand and the green light and the bleachers and all that kind of stuff. Well, last fall, I got invited with a lot of other race car drivers to go and hang out there. We went over there to race go-karts. I think he has about 20 carts that you can use. Mm-hmm. And we went over there and it rained, so we couldn't do it. Well, they were like, "Oh no, we're still having a race party." So it was all in the shop. And I'm not kidding you. They have a 4x8 piece of plywood, like this big table, that's made into a makeshift miniature Cottage Grove Speedway.
Oh, nice.
Has the sponsors around the fence and all that stuff. And they have these little 1/64 cars, race cars, that you stick in a little charger. Mm-hmm. I guess they got them at Walmart or something. And you basically hold them there for a few seconds. And what they do is everybody gets around the table and there's poker chips in a pot. And you draw, and that's the car you get. So it's fair. Nobody has the fast car all the time.
Sure.
And then you all hold them on the chargers until he says go, and you drop them on the track. And they'll race around until they run out of power. And whoever is the last car running on the track wins the pot. We usually put $1 or something in the pot.
Wow.
So we put a bunch of money, but it is so fun. Everybody just laughs, and it was a good time. And meanwhile, while the adults are doing that, kids are racing around us in the shop in little motorized race cars. I mean, this family lives, eats, and breathes racing.
Sure. Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. Yeah, because I grew up, you know, with slot car racing and stuff, so I'm used to like the small scale tracks. But you know, with the slot car, you're on a guide pin and you go, you know, literally on a slot. If you're unfamiliar what a slot car track is, but anybody listening, and nothing like having your car, you're like just kicking tail, and then somebody like flips, and then their guide pin gets in your slot, and then you guys it's about to blow up the battery, the controller. So, yeah.
I never could keep them on the track. You'd always hit the corners, and if you didn't have a good guardrail around it, you know, your car would just fly off.
Sure.
Frustrating.
Sure.
I spent more time putting them back on the track. But you know, the only one I know that sells those 1/64 slot car tracks, just like we had when we were kids, is Hobby Lobby. Has them. And then over on West 11th, there was an actual place that you could race them indoors, the bigger ones, like the 1/24 scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go in there and they would have certain nights where the guys would go in there and race them and build them and all that stuff. I don't know if it's still there, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I think I know what place you're talking about over by
the Taco Time on West 11th in those shop buildings.
Autogo transmission was over there. Yeah.
Yep.
We went there. We went there once or twice, I think. Like my dad did it pretty heavy duty. Like he'd go to like the big stuff, like in Seattle and stuff, and you know, we'd have it at our house sometimes. We'd have like 2 or 3 tracks, and then one time they rented the American Legion in Cottage Grove, and there was like, I don't know how many tracks, but like all these people just coming in from all sorts of different parts of you know, the Northwest pretty much, and it was wild and crazy. It was a lot of fun. So, and that's what a lot of guys did in the wintertime, you know, because back then there was an off season. Nowadays there really isn't much of an off season. So
nope, I would say there's racing and there's building.
Yes. Yep.
And all winter long building the cars.
Yeah.
Which by the way, is another thing that's really weird about sport compacts. There's not a lot to do on them.
Mm-hmm.
They're so easy, and I would suggest if you got any listeners out there that ever want to get into racing, that's the way to go. $3,000 gets you a custom-built car from somebody like Randy Cool Motorsports. Beautifully built with roll cages inside of them. And then you don't have to worry about doing all the work on them all the time. You know, and it's just a great introduction to racing.
Sure, yeah. No, definitely. And Randy's did, for Cottage Grove specifically, he's did such wonders of helping that class grow and making it what it is, which is a very competitive class and an entertaining class for people to watch.
Right. Yeah, he does really good work.
So,
and the good thing is, like with me, I'm on my 3rd motor already this year because he gets the motors out of old cars, so you don't know how long they're going to last. But if in the case where you blow up a motor over, I just go to him and he pulls one out of another car he's got and installs it for us for $400. You can't beat that. You can't do that in any other class.
No.
I mean, the other classes, our motors were $10,000 or higher.
Yeah.
So it's been nice.
No, I'm sure that's a welcome change for sure.
It almost feels boring sometimes. We're sitting out in the pits going, we don't have anything, no setups to worry about, nothing, as long as it's not broke, you just go drive.
Yeah, just check the air and the oil and the water, and the fuel.
Yep.
Well, so Marcola, for people that don't know, that's, let's see, north of Springfield, kind of the east end of Springfield, towards the Mach-1 Valley. Really, really beautiful and rural and away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely beautiful out here. We've always actually dreamed of living out here. One day I found this 5-acre horse property that we have. My wife has a couple horses. That's her hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought it 10 years ago, and it's tripled in value. So it's been really, really nice. It is 20 miles from Springfield, but
mm-hmm.
it's not a bad price to pay to have to drive in to get groceries and stuff when you don't have to worry about all the theft and people coming up to your door all the time selling stuff and all that. I mean, it's totally a piece of heaven, and it's very, very quiet out here, so we love it.
Sure, and just the natural rat race of life, of just lots of people being around. It's nice to kind of just step back and listen to peace and quiet and just listen to nature.
Yeah, we have our share of deer, turkeys, and squirrels and everything else out here.
So for people that have never been there, it's beautiful places. I'm sure they got like camping sites and things that are points of interest, like some parks that people can venture to, and some beautiful drives too. If you're in the Springfield area, like you can just head on up and it spits out right about Crawfordsville or so, not too far from Brownsville area.
Yeah, or if you go right when you get into Crawfordsville, it goes to Sweet Home, where I worked for 17 years with the Forest Service out of that office, and then you're at Foster Lake, and you can go up Highway 20 and go over into Sisters and Bend and all that stuff. So it's definitely on the Oregon Trail Highway, so it's very nice. And closer to my house, we have the Shotgun Creek recreation area, which has a beautiful park and ATV riding and all that kind of stuff, shooting ranges and stuff. So it's pretty nice.
Well, it's always great to catch up and chat with you and talk to you about racing things and obviously non-racing things, Roger. It's been a pleasure. Before we let you go, though, people that you want to thank, sponsors or individuals that have helped you along the way or continue to help you, I just want to give you the floor so that you can have a chance to thank them.
Yeah, I'd like to thank, first and foremost, the Trissel family. Theron Trissel, his son Charles, and his wife Shayla. They help me with everything I need at the track. They're always right there getting on it, help me load the car, unload the car, change tires, whatever it takes. They've been wonderful. Of course, Randy Cool for helping me build the car and working on it whenever I need help. And my sponsors, Best Heating and Air Conditioning out of SIO. And that's about all of the major sponsors. But yeah, definitely, my mom and dad and my lovely wife, Catherine, that helped support me. And Cuttersburg Wheelie and Heather Boyce just for having us out there and letting us do our thing.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing how the rest of the season's playing out, and I'm crossing my fingers, toes, and everything else that this is not your last season racing, and we get to enjoy it for a couple more seasons.
I appreciate that, man. Great talking to you.
Well, race fans, that does it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you continue to enjoy these upcoming interviews. We appreciate it if you would like and subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it's at. Give us a like and give us a subscription so that we can deliver more of these great interviews to you for your listening pleasure. In the meantime, wherever we're at, wherever you're listening, we hope you have a great rest of your day and a pleasant evening, and we will see you soon here at Highside Racing Promotions.